What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Jordan Ellis, here to recap UFC 259, Blachowicz vs. Adesanya. Jordan, it was a monster card that we just had this past weekend. What were your thoughts all around from all the fights?
Yeah, it just had a bit of everything, didn't it? A bit of controversy, some big knockouts, nice submissions, upsets, favourites winning, it had everything. It really did deliver, it was a hype card, one of the most hyped of the year. Yeah, it was a good card. It did exactly what you'd expect, and there was no real disappointments.
No, I agree. And I mean, especially at the start of the card, usually the prelims are pretty boring. For the most part, there's not really big names on there. There was on this one. But even from the early Fight Pass prelims, it was just non-stop finishes until the main card started, really. Till the end of the prelims. But yeah, great card all around. We'll jump straight at the main event. Israel Adesanya failed in his attempt to secure the light heavyweight title. Didn't make the double champ status. Jan defended. Really close fight, I did think. Although I thought Jan probably won. I know Dana will disagree with me, but I thought he won 4 of the rounds. What were your thoughts on watching that fight?
Yeah, I thought it was close. It was nip and tuck. It was definitely a Jan win. I thought Blachowicz won the fight pretty clearly. Them first 3 rounds, I think you'd have to be the biggest fanboy ever to give Adesanya all 3 of them, because he really didn't do much. And if he was like, I don't understand why you would feel that compelled to give him all them rounds, really, because he didn't do much and he didn't do more than Blachowicz. And it was just the commentators, they were kind of riding. It was DC and Joe, and they were properly all in on the Adesanya hype train, and I don't blame them. But if you're actually watching the fight, it was 50-50 on the feet, and then Jan took it to the floor and it changed, and that's the fight that happened. It's kind of the fight I expected to happen, because Adesanya, I love watching him. He's brilliant and all these things, but he was being almost disrespectful of the light heavyweight division and Jan Blachowicz by saying, I'm coming in at 200 pounds. I'm not going to bulk up. I'm not going to do this. It's just, for me, that's a huge jump to go and try and do that. And I applaud him for being, shooting for the stars and things like that. But for me, I did feel he would fall short, and I thought he might get knocked out, but he was more competitive than I thought he'd be. And in the end, it was a great win for Blachowicz, who finally will get the credit he deserves.
Yeah, and I did think those first 3 rounds, you could have scored 1 or 2 of them, Fizzy, in my opinion. They were really, really close. But the wrestling was when we noticed the size difference. As soon as Blachowicz was able to get him on the ground, there was just not really an opportunity for Adesanya to get back up, which I attribute a lot to the size difference. But for Adesanya, otherwise, he looked pretty good. I feel like if he was going up and fighting a pure striker who didn't have any grappling base, he could really do well at light heavyweight. Just not the case against Blachowicz, not the case against Jones, but we will get to that in a sec, I'm sure. Last thing I want to say about the scorecards, I didn't think there was any 10-8 rounds in this fight, and the fact that 2 of the judges scored a 10-8 is pretty ridiculous. I just don't even know where they saw that. Do you know what rounds they scored that in?
The 5th, I think, they gave it 10-8, which is... Adesanya, they keep saying this notion that while it's on the feet, Adesanya's winning, but he really wasn't. He was, it was 50-50 on the feet, then it weren't on the ground. And as you said, I don't think that happens at middleweight. I don't think someone's taking him down and holding him down at middleweight. I just think Jan's just a bigger guy and was able to do that. But 10-8, I think it was in the 5th, and I disagree with that as well. I don't think Jan did enough on the ground, and he was only on the ground for 2.5 minutes. And, we're going to get to some fights later with the Aljamain and Peter Yan. I think he could have had some 10-8s in there rather than some 10-8s in this one. So, but the right man won in the end, and that was a worry. I think, even when we were waiting for the decision, I think a lot of people was thinking Jan's going to get robbed here, and they're going to do a job on him. And thankfully, whether they were a bit wide or whatever, the right person won. He kept his belt and deserves it. So it was a brilliant win.
Yeah, and I've watched this fight twice now. The first time I watched it live, I didn't have the commentary on because obviously I was doing like a fight companion thing. So I didn't have the commentary, and I really, thought that everyone would be in agreement that Blachowicz was winning that fight. Second time I did watch it with the commentary. I know you mentioned it before, but I'll bring it up. They were very biased. It was very clear bias in that fight that they were hyping up Izzy's striking. And a lot of what they were saying on the feet was just not happening, in my opinion. They were just claiming that Blachowicz was biting on all the feints and was losing in the striking department, when really in those first 3 rounds, if you look at the statistics, Blachowicz outlanded Adesanya in all 3.
Yeah, and it was one of them where I feel like it happens a lot with DC. You know, I'm not here to slate commentators, but in terms of my personal preference, listening to someone, he's a funny guy, and I like it when he's, with Bisping and he's having a laugh and things like that. But really, when it comes down to technical breakdown and watching a fight and giving a proper view, that I tend to agree with. If DC's not the man, he really does jump on these hype trains. I'm not even sure if he's friends with it. I felt the same during the Sterling fight. He was all over Sterling and kept going about Sterling winning, but he was getting beat up anyway. We'll get to that. It was poor commentary, and it was, and I think people who actually pay attention to the commentary might think Izzy was hard done by there, but if you actually watch the fight, he really wasn't, and they changed the tune in the end once they got feedback from the audience, I think. But it's tough, and I understand from their point of view, Rogan and DC, they're in that world, and Adesanya is the next big superstar, and they really want him to win, but he didn't, and it was clear, and even in the early rounds, it was clear, and I just wish they would, just call the fight as they say. It was frustrating as a fan.
Yeah, so before we move on, just what's next for both these guys. Blachowicz obviously says he's going to defend against Teixeira. Don't think there's any chance of a Jones fight there. Jones is going to 100% go to heavyweight now. That's all light heavyweight Jones has done. Adesanya probably go down and defend he will go down and defend his title, probably to Robert Whittaker or Paulo Costa. But he did mention Darren Till, if Darren Till can get one over Vettori. Now, what do you think that if Till can beat Vettori, he should jump Whittaker if Whittaker gets a win? What do you think?
It's tough, isn't it? Because Adesanya, he's clearly got a lot of pull. Like he can call the shots in the UFC. But like he's went up to light heavyweight. He hasn't even made light heavyweight, but he's done that anyway. He's coming back down. He has just fought Whittaker, and it's I think that fight's still fresh in people's minds. But I think if Whittaker beats Costa and knocks him out and looks impressive, he might jump the queue. But then, say they want to make Till against Adesanya for July, then you can do Whittaker against Adesanya in November, December. There's not, as long as the fight happens early in 2021, I don't think there's an issue. But if they book Adesanya against Till for November, December, then that's a bit harsh on Robert Whittaker. So for me, the dates depend, and also you've got Vettori there, so just look over Vettori's dangerous thing in itself. But it'll all work itself out, and hopefully we get the right fights at the right time.
Yeah, and there's a similar thing going on in the co-main event after that fight, but we'll jump to that now. Amanda Nunes, just a machine, dominant force. No one's beating her, especially at featherweight. Made short work of Megan Anderson. 2 minutes in, submission. Could have gone for the triangle, could have gone for... Ultimately went for the armbar. But yeah, domination. What did you think?
First, I just want to ask, obviously you're Aussie. She's got the back, and what was the feeling in Australia going into this fight? Did people fancy Megan Anderson or?
Nah, all the people I know that were betting on this one were taking Nunes. So
yeah, okay, so yeah, because it's hard sometimes when it's like an Englishman or someone from Liverpool. I get hyped and I'm backing them, even though the obvious result is right there. So glad to see you are a bit more clear-minded than me. I thought this fight was a mismatch from the moment they booked it. I don't think Megan Anderson should have been in a title fight. No disrespect. She beat 2 people really I'd never really heard of, to get that title shot. Mm-hmm. Then she lost to Felicia Spence. She lost to Holly Holm. She got a dodgy win over Kat Zingano. To be honest, she hasn't been that impressive since she's been in the UFC. Mm-hmm. And I expected this to happen. It was a total mismatch, and that for me, that division's done now. But Nunes looked fantastic, as she always does. She was throwing bombs, even worked in submissions. I don't even know what the submission was in the end. It was like a reverse triangle armbar. Mm-hmm. It was brilliant, but I want to see her go back down to 135 and just keep that belt and defend that belt now, because there really is no one in that division. She's cleared it out. It was already cleared out when she beat Spencer. It's totally cleared out now. Hopefully that's the move, but it sounds like they want to just keep her happy and keep her defending against whoever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they said that at the post-fight press conference, I wrote about it. Who is it? Juliana Pena. She asked for the fight with Nunes, and they seem on board to do that. Weird option, though, because Pena did lose to Jermaine Durandamy in October of last year. Came back in January and got a win I'm blanking on who over, but she is coming off a loss to someone who's above her in the rankings, yet they're going to give her a title shot because Nunes has beaten both Dranamine and Holly Holm. So weird spot for that division. If Nunes can get it done against Pena as well, what do you do? Because she's pretty much cleaned out both divisions at that point. Who is there? Shevchenko, I guess, but otherwise, what do you think's for Amanda?
Yeah, I like the Pena fight just because the reason Pena's gonna get this fight is because she's the only one calling for it. You don't see people lining up to fight Nunes. There's not a lot of people speaking about it right now, and that home fight would have been a brilliant fight to cement herself. But she's there, she's calling for it, and they want to turn Nunes around. So I think, as I was just saying, anyone will do at this point, and Pena is a better option than Megan Anderson. She's a better option than Felicia Spencer. So for me, it's a good fight. I like it. Pena will be game, and obviously you'd have to favour Nunes, but it's a cool fight. But once she beats Pena, she's gonna have to go back, circling back. She's gonna have to beat GDR again, Holly Holm again, and Shevchenko again. Like that's the path for her, and I think she's happy with that now. She's got a baby. She wants to provide some nice things and money and things like that for. So I think she'll just carry it, and she'll knock off these contenders and carry on picking up checks.
Last thing before we move on, Nunes, she is obviously cleaned out 145. There's no real contenders there. They have some fights booked in that division, but how long do you think until the UFC cuts the division?
I hope it's today. Like, honestly, I'm not going at the girls, but it's just not a division that's there. I'd prefer all the girls to get cut and go to Bellator, and maybe then Cyborg's there at least, and losing Cyborg was a big blow to that division, and they got Cyborg and Julia Budd, and it could be powerful if you add in Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer and a few other people. So I think right now there's 8 people in that division, so there's not even enough fighters in the division to make a top 15. So it's tough. I'd prefer them to get rid of that one and add in maybe atom weight or a lower weight class, because that could be fun. I think that would be great, but this just looks dead.
I'll tell you the one matchup that does interest me at 145, but it's obviously not going to happen anytime soon, is Kyla Harrison from PFL. Obviously, she fights at 155 there, but she had a fight in, I don't remember what promotion it was. She did have a 145 fight, and she won it. Teammate of Nunes's, but at the post-fight press conference, Nunes said she would willingly fight Kyla Harrison if she came to the UFC and they had to do it. So I think that's an interesting fight. Aside from that, yeah, nothing else there.
Yeah, you could maybe just have Nunes having the belt and then just not defend it until a worthy contender comes along, or just maybe have one of these 135ers step up to 145 and just keep it busy. But really, in an ideal way, to have a good 145 division, you need everyone from Bellator, everyone from PFL, all these girls under the same roof, because the talent pool is more shallow than the men. It's just a simple fact, and we need to gather them all together and to have them all fighting. Right now, they're all everywhere. It's not going to work for this one. But it seems like she'll be keeping the belt, and it seems like that's what they're going to do. They're going to wait for a worthy contender to rise up, and we'll see. Yeah,
the bantamweights. I'll throw that to you. What happened there?
Oh, it's such a shame. Like Peter Yan looked fantastic. I thought he was dominating the fight. I thought he was doing. He was just cementing himself as a true champion. Last time I even said I think Aljo should have got the shot against Sandhagen, but Peter Yan got it. He won the belt, and then this time he was making easy work of Aljo. I think Aljo won the second, but he was looking to get stopped in that fourth, and then unfortunately he does that knee, and Aljo can't recover, and we have a new champ. But I was saying in my staff predictions, it would take something special to beat Peter Yan, and that's something special. The first DQ championship winner in UFC history. It doesn't get much more special than that. So such a shame because I think the wrong man won on the night. What did you think?
I thought Sterling looked like a world ender when he came out in that first round. He would put the pressure on fast. He looked to be overwhelming Yan. Yan has a really high boxing defense. You can never tell when he's actually hurt and when he's just covering up. But yeah, Sterling looked like he won the first round. I thought he won the second as well. But the third, Aljamain looked really, really tired. He got dominated in that one. The fourth, he was on his way out, in my opinion. I thought he wouldn't have lasted a fifth round in my prediction anyway. But hey, Jan threw that knee. He didn't know it was illegal when he was in there, but he should have known it was illegal. The referee told him it was a downed opponent, and he still threw it. You got to deal with the consequence. You lose your belt, And I seen him on Twitter after this, just taking jabs at Sterling about taking the win and whatnot. First, he come out and apologized, and I was like, oh, that's honorable. But then he doubles down and says, you're parading the belt. Look, he threw the knee. He has to deal with what happened. They'll do the rematch, and the better guy will win that one,
I would prefer it, the belt was vacant, though. I don't think that's a way to win the belt for anyone. Sterling, 20 years in down the line, he's got kids, and they're saying, oh, show us the time you won the world belt. Oh, here's the video of me getting, beat up for 4 rounds, and then, here's me getting kneed in the head, and then here's me rolling around the floor for 5 minutes. Oh, and here's me with the belt. It's not, like, Sterling doesn't want to win it like that. And I was surprised to see him kind of carrying the belt, and I've even just, been writing a story about him calling out Cejudo now and trying to get past Jan as a potential opponent. So, I'm not. I understand he was hurt, and I understand the fight couldn't carry on. For me, for the belt to change hand, for the belt to go to Sterling like that, it does. I don't particularly like it, and it's kind of got me thinking about the ground opponent rules, because Sterling was playing with that rule. He was manipulating the rule, so Jan couldn't keep beating him up. He was putting his knees and his 3 points of contact, and I don't like to see it. So I prefer if we legalise knees in that situation, because no one would be doing that anymore. It's a tough one. It was a good fight, and for me, it was the best fight of the night, and up until that point, and then it got ruined. So hopefully we run it back, sooner rather than later. It seems like Sterling's okay now. Peter Yan is chomping at the bit, and it was a fun fight. So I can see that, hopefully in the next few months, it'll be great.
They have to run it back next. I know Sterling's calling for a fight with Cejudo, but I think that's more of just throwing the option out there. I don't think he's serious about that one. How could you win the fight in the method you just win the belt in the method you just won the belt and not want a rematch to prove you're the better fighter? And I think the rematch will be just as good as this fight, if not better, because both these guys have experience in the ring with each other now. They know how they feel when they grapple, what they want to do. Jan showed off a lot of really impressive takedowns in that fight, so Sterling's going to know what he wants to aim to do coming into this next one. And I think we'll just get a better fight, to be honest, and a more clear verdict on who is the better fighter. Regardless of who wins the fight, we'll get a more clear representation of both fighters in their second fight against each other. But yeah, I know TJ was throwing jabs too. Do you want to speak about that? Did you see that?
Well, just going back, Aljo's got things to work on there, because he looked good, but then obviously he blew his wad, and he kind of was just fighting on pure emotion. It seemed like he was just going all in. Mm-hmm. And Jan, as you said, he was doing the high boxing defense, and it weren't really working. So he can just slow the pace down, still win rounds, while also keeping his gas tank full, so he won't be getting beat up in the fourth like he was there. And then Jan can also, he's got stuff to work on in terms of his corner. There seems to be some, mix up with what they were calling for and things like that. So yeah, I've seen the post-fight stuff. I've seen a lot of people talking about, give him Asgar and especially, Cejudo and TJ and things like that. But for me, he was hurt, and he made the right decision, because he weren't going to win that fight. And, I was just seeing that he gets an extra 100K for winning. He got a 100K win bonus. Next fight, he's going to get a championships pay. There's so much money that comes with that belt. I think it's a smart thing to do. And when Anthony Smith got kneed by John Jones, I was saying he should have done that as well, because Aljamain Sterling weren't going to get a rematch if he lost that fight. He was back down to fighting ranked, top 5 guys. Anthony Smith's same situation. He won't get a rematch. It's the smart thing to do, and Aljo's got the belt now. We'll see a rematch, and people can say what they say on social media, but I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I think the knee in the Smith and Jones fight was a little different, especially because I think from memory, Smith was he was against the cage and it looked like he was almost standing up, but he did get smashed with a legal knee. But at the same time, he wasn't told that the guy was grounded. Jan was told his opponent was grounded, and he threw the knee straight at his skull. I think that was much worse in this situation. And so if I'm Sterling, I'm taking that all day. Everyone can criticize him all they want. If they were in that situation, they're injured. It wasn't like he didn't get hit. He got slammed with the knee. Of course, you're taking that to get your win money and whatnot. So, yeah, not a lot more to say there. We'll jump on to the fight before it, which was the lightweights. Pretty big matchup in that division. We had the prospects. Islam Makhachev taking on Drew Doba. Striker versus grappler. Grappling won in the end. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It's what we want to see from Makhachev. He's got all this hype. It's a lot of hype he's getting because he's linked to Khabib, and they keep saying he's better than Khabib, and that's people are talking about Khabib in the GOAT conversation. So that's how highly people rate Makhachev in his camp, and he delivered. He looked brilliant. I think he dominated the fight start to finish. Doba really just didn't have any answer for the wrestling, and then in the end, it was a nice submission. It was a bit out of position as well. He didn't have it fully. I was confused as to what he'd actually pulled off it at first, but yeah, it was an arm triangle, and it was brilliant. And he moves on to the next one now. Can't wait. I hope it's soon. I want to see him active. I want to see him fighting top guys, and I want to see him there 3 or 4 times this year. I'd love it.
Yeah, I know he called out Tony, but I don't think he's getting that. I think Tony's going to fight Diaz. I really hope it happens, and I think that all signs are pointing to that. We won't speak about that now. Makhachev really is probably going to get someone like RDA, who is initially booked against, or Paul Felder, maybe Dan Hooker. What do you think?
I like the RDA fight. I think that's the one to make. RDA is a brilliant wrestler himself. So I'd imagine that would be like a 5-round main event on a fight night. Be a good fight. Be good to see Makhachev over 5 rounds against RDA. You look fantastic. Coming back down to lightweight last time, I think that's the fight to make. And I hope to make it soon. As I said, I want to see him active. I want to see him fighting, and I want to see RDA fighting as well.
Yeah, and as for Doba, one thing I just thought would be cool yesterday when I saw the fight was Doba versus Raphael Fizzyev next. I think he's booked, Fizzyev. I think he's booked, but if he's not booked, that could be a fun one. What do you think's next for Doba? Because he wasn't in the rankings, but he was at 15 before someone got moved up and took him out. I think it was Chandler. Before Chandler came in, he was number 15. What do you think he gets now?
I think he'd potentially get another someone in the rankings. I'm not sure who's there, and I think a Paul Felder fight would be fun, or Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker needs a little step down in opposition, and I think putting him in there with someone who's going to bang with him will be fun. It'll be fun for fight fans, and I think Doba deserves it because he's just been fighting a monster who's all wrestling. So I don't think Doba will be straight back into good fights. I don't think he goes back to the prelims or anything like that. He'll be mixing it with a top guy next. I'm not sure who, but I'm sure he will.
Fair enough. My least favorite fight on this card, the light heavyweights, Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. Wasn't very eventful. I picked this one for fight of the night, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Just a bit of a point fighting match where Rakic came out on top. What do you think?
Yeah, I was disappointed because the few fights before that were all the lighter weight classes. And I was kind of speaking to one of my friends, and I was saying, "Oh, can't wait for this one." Like, 2 big guys who can potentially knock each other out. Santos is known for flying forward and being a wrecking machine, but Rakic just shut him down. And Rakic is just, really developing as a fighter, showing himself to be a complete mixed martial artist who's not afraid to win the dirty way. We've seen him against Smith. It weren't the funnest fight, but he beat Smith, and that was a good win. Santos now, Rakic is looking like someone who could potentially be a title challenger, potentially beat Jan Blachowicz and take the title. So hats off to him. But Santos is it's unfortunate because he's not come back at his best from that injury, and hopefully we can again drop him down a level or 2, get him a win, get that confidence back, get him back in the mix. I think he's still got a lot to give. It's just it weren't evidence at UFC 259.
Yeah, and we know what's next for Rakic, I think, and it's going to be the winner of Dominic Reyes versus Jiri Prochazka. I think that's the fight that really is going to determine who takes on Rakic, because Teixeira is about to fight Blachowicz, we know that, and then you kind of just got Rakic sitting in there. So the winner of that, Reyes versus Prochazka, that's the person for Rakic. Do you agree? What would you think?
Yeah, it's a banger. It's a banger as well. Like, but Rakic he's like, as I said, he's a mixed martial artist, and he'll shut down Prochazka. He's got this. He's not going to engage in what you're best at, and I do like it. I think it's smart, but obviously it doesn't make for the best watching. I think the winner of that would be in line for the title shot after Glover, and light heavyweight is fun again. There's lots going on, and that was a big one for Rakic. That's 2 in a row now, really big wins, and one more fight, I think he gets a title shot.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We'll jump on to the prelims now. We had the veteran fighter, commentator, Dominic Cruz, taking on Casey Kenney, the up-and-comer. Didn't look like vintage Cruz, but he looked pretty good. He looked really good in that fight, and he did what he needed to do to win this fight. I know it was a split decision win, but I really think Cruz won out in most of the rounds. I don't think he lost any rounds in that one. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was. It's always going to be fight. Like it's always going to be close when you're fighting Casey Kenney because he puts out so much output. The cage is so small that you can't really get away from him. He's just he's a wet blanket. He's a tough one to escape. And I think Cruz did well. He was landing for me the cleaner shots, and he was a deserved winner in the end. It Wayne Vintage Cruz, as you said, he didn't look like a top contender anymore. He looked like he was going to be scrapping it out with the lower ranked guys. But I think if you get him over 5 rounds, he might look better against a different opponent. He might look better. Hopefully, if Sean O'Malley wins, I think Cruz against Sean O'Malley's a brilliant fight to make. A main event of a fight night. I think that would be great. Yeah, but Cruz is back in the mix. That's all he needed. First win since 2016, I think it was. So he needed that, and it doesn't. However you get it, you got it.
Yeah, and right before that, we had more bantamweights. We had Seongyong taking on Kyla Phillips. I think this was the upset of the night for me. I thought Yudong would be able to finish him in this fight, but Phillips looked sensational, had really, really good pressure, landed huge shots that just, for some reason, Yudong could just take on the chin and not go down. And yeah, he wound up grappling in the last round, I believe, to secure that victory. Just did exactly what he needed to do to win the fight.
Yeah, it was a brilliant fight. It was one of my picks for fight of the night. I thought it would mesh well, and it was a good fight, but it weren't quite at that level. I think Kyla Phillips made it easier than I expected it to be. He was really impressive with his counter strikes. He was always moving backwards, but he was always landing shots. It was brilliant to watch. He's a flashy guy anyway. He likes his spinning shots and things like that. And Yudong was just a bit too gung ho. He was just going forward, trying to land bombs, and it doesn't work at this level. You can't just take everyone out and things like that. But he's very young; he'll learn, and he'll be back. But yeah, Kyla Phillips, brilliant win for him on a massive card against a massive name. Great.
And right before that, we had flyweights. We had another veteran, Joseph Benavidez, taking on Askarov, who is someone you've hyped on this show non-stop every time he's fought. And he just delivered in this fight, didn't he? He looked sensational. He didn't even rely on his wrestling a lot. I know he did, but not for the most part. The most part of this fight was taking place on the feet, and he was just outstriking Benavidez.
Yeah, it was a good win because you got to worry when any of these top flyweights are fighting Joseph Benavidez because he might be on on a losing streak and things like that, and he might not win the title again, but he's still a top guy. And I thought he was capable of pulling off an upset, but he didn't. And Askarov looked brilliant. He's potentially next in line now after Moreno. So yeah, brilliant from Askarov. I think he's been great throughout his career in the UFC, and he will get a shot eventually. And I can't wait to watch it. He might need one more win in the meantime, but yeah, eventually he's going to get it.
Yeah, and we had so many fights in this card, so we'll just keep rolling through them. Right before that, we had the flyweights again. Rogerio Bontorin versus Kaikara France. Bontorin was just dominating this fight on the ground. Didn't even look close. Looked like Kaikara France was going to get submitted multiple times. Didn't get submitted. Really good defense there, the rear naked choke. DC was condemning him throughout the first 4 minutes of this fight, saying, Cara France is done. It's over. It's over. Yet, as soon as he managed to separate and get back to the feet, he threw a bomb and knocked him out. It was a really awesome finish there. And yeah, commentary was kind of off, weren't
they? Yeah, all night. That's the thing with these guys. They call it submissions before they're even half in. So it's just, they don't let the fight play out before it's done. And he was in some bad positions. I'm not taking that away from the guys. He looked like he was on his way out. He was in some fighting them the submissions that were really getting put on him, but in the end he shook it off, knocked them out, and a bit of confusion at the end. He kind of does a victory lap, then goes back to hammer fist. It was Herb Dean again, not too convincing with his reffing, but it was a brilliant win for France because I think he was on the back of a little losing streak as well. So really good win, clean knockout. I think he got some bonus money as well, and he saved the night for City Kickboxing, didn't he? Because besides him, I don't think anyone got a win.
Yeah, no, they did go one for the two on that one. We'll jump onto the early prelims then. I only caught 2 of these, so I'll grab the ones I caught. I saw Tim Allen just demolish Jordan Espinosa with his grappling. Looked really good in this one. And he's still a player at flyweight, even though he's been around for so long. He's just still, he's the person you need to beat if you want to move up through those rankings, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the man, Tim Elliott. He's thinking, on any given day, I feel like these flyweights can beat each other. And I think on his day, Tim Elliott could be a flyweight champion. It's just he does have off nights. He is inconsistent, but lately he's been putting it together, and that was a big win. And there was kind of a weird moment in Jordan, the fight where Tim Elliott was calling Jordan Espinosa a woman beater, and things like that. So it was a weird, we had a weird night of incidents, and that was one of them. Or Tim Elliott gets his win. That's 2 in a row, and deservedly so. Big win.
Yeah, and right before that, the first fight I saw, so the ones after that you're going to have to lead me through. Kennedy Nzechukwu, we're going to call him Kennedy, just knocked out Carlos Ulberg from City Kickboxing. Really, really highly hyped debut for Ulberg there, being on the card with his teammate and middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. And Ulberg looked like he was going to get it done quick, but Kennedy can take a shot. And as soon as he managed to weather the storm, Ulberg was very, very tired. And yeah, just got it done with a beautiful right hook.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I think it was the fight tonight. This one, it was really back and forth. To see these big guys taking the shots they were taking and bringing it back, and it was back and forth. And we got it for 2.5 rounds, nearly 3 rounds, and it was fun fight. And I think Ulberg looked good. He just he weren't able to get out the way of the shots that were coming at him. And Kennedy, he's a puncher, and they're all punchers at light heavyweight, but he's one of them. And he looked fantastic too. So only lost to Paul Craig during his UFC career. That's 2 in a row now. He'll move on, and Ulberg will get another fight. I'm sure he's got work to do. I'm not sure how old he is, but yeah, he's only 30, and he's with Izzy, so he's got things to work on. But he'll be back. Good fight, probably one of the better fights of the night, and they both got bonuses. So congrats to both men. But Kennedy with the upset.
Yeah, and so like I said, I didn't catch any of the ones before it, so I'll throw it over to you. You can pick and choose what you want to speak about.
There's a couple where speaking about Sean Brady, Jake Matthews was a really good fight on paper. In terms of what thinking about fights of the night, I think this is one a lot of people would have picked out to, and Sean Brady continues to look impressive. 14-0 now, and he sunk in a beautiful arm triangle choke, and it was a brilliant win. And then besides that, there was someone I was looking forward to watching was Eris Medic against Cruz, and he just demolished him, and he's undefeated as well, and he come off the Contender Series, looked brilliant in his UFC debut, and I think he's going to be someone to look out for, moving forward as a potential contender in lightweight division down the line. Right now, he's I think 6-0 prospect, but he's making everyone, and I can't wait to watch him again. But that's pretty much it, in terms of what I want to highlight. I just want to say it was a brilliant card. It really did have everything. And I can't wait to watch Jan in action again. Is he back down his belt? He hasn't really lost anything. And can't wait.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Right now, we'll jump on to this weekend's coming card, which will see Leon Edwards return for the first time since, I don't know what month, 2019. He's been out a while, almost 2 years, maybe longer than 2 years. I could be wrong. But he's taking on Belal Muhammad on short notice. Was initially meant to be Khamzat Chimaev, but obviously Chimaev's got complications with COVID, so he's no longer fighting for the time being. Says he's retired. We don't know about that. But this is the fight we've got here tonight. What are your thoughts on the matchup, and especially being on short notice?
Yeah, I like it. I really do for Leon. I'm a believer in ring rust. I think ring rust is real, and he's going to have it in this fight, in my opinion. He's been off for 2 years. And the momentum's gone for Leon now. He's the next title contender, and he's been unfortunate. His fight against Woodley was the first cancelled due to COVID, and since then he's had COVID. He's had to turn down a title fight, and he's had a tough time. And now he's back, and he's fighting Belal Muhammad, who is game, and he's on a good streak. But I just don't think he's ever off the level of Leon Edwards, and I expect Leon to make that very much clear in this main event. Hopefully he can get a big stoppage victory and make a statement. But this one could go 5 rounds as well. As I said, Belal's tough. He won't go down easy. So really good fight. A nice fight for Leon. It could have been harder coming back. And can't wait to see him in action again. It's been too long.
He should win this fight. This is really a gimme fight for him at this point. He's number 3. Muhammad's 13. I know the rankings don't really mean much, but in terms of their skill sets, Leon is much better at striking. Muhammad's main thing is his striking. I don't really see him grapple ever. So on paper, I just think it should be an easy night for Edwards. But like you said, ring rust could be a thing. If he's not able to get started, Muhammad could take over the traction and outdo him. But how does he last over 5 rounds? Because I don't think we've seen either of these guys go 5 rounds yet. And I imagine Edwards will have an edge just because of his style of striking. Because we watched Muhammad's last fight against Diego Lima. He didn't look that great in the fight, in my opinion. He did win it clearly, but he didn't look phenomenal in that fight. And the pace he put up for the 3 rounds, he can't do that over 5, especially against Leon Edwards. So on paper, I'd say Edwards take this one all day. But what an upset it would be for Muhammad if he can pull this off.
Yeah, and Edwards did 5 rounds against Cowboy a while back. He looked good, he looked good over them 5 rounds. I expect Belal to come in, and try and find a finish, like really put it on him and empty the gas tank and give us all and ultimately fall short. But I think that's his plan. I don't think he necessarily will want to go 5 rounds, with little to no camp. And Leon, have you seen that picture circulating of Leon in terms of his comeback shape? He looks in phenomenal shape. So he's been clearly working. I just want to, as a fellow Englishman, I want to see Leon really make a statement, coming out party, dominate Belal. And, you never know. He could still get the next shot because by all accounts, Jorge Masvidal is a tough guy to deal with in terms of negotiating fights and things like that. And at some point, the UFC might just say, fuck it, we're going to book Leon against Usman. Let's make this title fight. It could still happen. So there is a lot on the line here, even though he's not facing a real top contender. I think Leon's got a lot to gain.
I don't think that he's going to get a title shot off this one, just because I do think the UFC's plans are to do the Ultimate Fighter with Masvidal and Usman. They're not going to do the Ultimate Fighter with Leon Edwards and Usman. It won't sell. You know what I mean? So I think that he's going to have to wait out. But with this win, he puts himself in that number 1 position where he's been floating around for the last 2 years. Everyone's wanted, not everyone, a lot of people have argued he should be getting the next title shot for the last 2 years. So, for him to get a win here, he'd really cement himself as the number 1 contender. And once Masvidal, the money fight, is over, he will be the first worthy component for Usman. If Usman wins the belt against Masvidal, which I think he will. But yeah, so I don't think there's title implications here.
Well, my point is that the negotiation might be too tough for the UFC to overcome. If Masvidal is a tough guy to deal with, they might just pull out of that and say, we're not doing that anymore because we can't pay you the money you want. And we've been speaking about Masvidal Usman for a while now, and it's still not booked. And the Ultimate Fighter is due to start in May, I think, or it's or April or something like that. So we don't have an announcement. So something's going on behind the scenes that says, that's not particularly right. So that's what I'm saying. On a technicality, he could slip in and potentially get a title fight down the line. But I think he'll probably need one more. I hope he fights Kobe, and that's the fight they make after this one for Leon. Because that is a true number 1 contender fight, in my opinion. And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We'll jump on to the light heavyweight. I was trying to say co-main event. We'll jump on the co-main event, which are the light heavyweights. Misha Cirkunov taking on Ryan Spann. Cirkunov, I believe, is coming off a win. I just wouldn't be able to tell you who it was to because I'm blanking. But I think Ryan Spann's coming off that loss to Johnny Walker, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so Jimmy Cruz,
that's right,
lost to Misha.
Yep.
Ryan Spann lost to Johnny Walker. Ryan Spann looked good in that fight. It was just a wild one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think he's looked good, and I think he should get by Misha. But it's a really well matched fight. Credits to the UFC matchmakers, because these both guys have lost to Johnny Walker as well. So it's good throwing them together. But Ryan Spann, I've enjoyed watching his fights at light heavyweight. If he wants to be a top contender, he needs to get by Misha. I think this is a good fight to him in a good spot, co-main event of quite a big card. So, well done to these guys, and I really do look forward to this one.
Yeah, I mean, Cirkunov really slipped up against only against unorthodox strikers. Like Johnny Walker got him with that flying knee from memory. Aside from that, I can't remember who he's lost to, but I don't think he's lost to many people that are just stock standard strikers. So I actually am taking Cirkunov in this one, especially given the leverage on that Jimmy Crute win. I know he got a weird submission there as a Peruvian necktie, I believe. So maybe he relies on his grappling in this one, takes Spann down. I don't know. I just feel like Seongyong can get this done here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised this man can take this.
Seongyong hasn't been out the first round since 2016. He's very, get it done or lose. He lost to Ozdemir and Glover by TKO and Johnny Walker, but then he's got some good wins. Jimmy Cruz, Nikita Krylov, and Patrick Cummins. They're good wins to have. You also got Kutalaba on that record. So if you're not top level, if you're not elite, you're not getting by me yet. And Ryan Spann's got a tough task in front of him. Is he the man? Is he good enough? 29 years old, he's coming into his prime. Excited to watch him. This is an acid test.
Yeah, I agree with that. Before that, we have heavyweights. Ben Rothwell taking on Felipe Lins. What are your thoughts on this fight?
I was quite hyped on Lins when he come to the UFC, and he just hasn't delivered so far. I think he's lost both his fights from what I've seen. Yeah, Tanner Bosa and Andrei Arlovski. So I'm disappointed with what I've seen, and I'm expecting Ben Rothwell to knock him out, really. I'm expecting Ben to make easy work of him, and I think Ben's looked great. I think he continues to look, as good as ever. And who did he beat last time? No, he lost to Tybora last time, but he beat St. Preux and Stefan Struve and on the bounce before that. So I'm expecting him to go out and either get a dominant decision or, knock out Lins.
Yeah, I'd probably take Rothwell as well. I think he's just got heavier hands. Maybe he gets him out of there. You don't know with Ben Rothwell. Some of his fights, like you look at the fight against OSP, just wasn't really like a knockout punching fight. It was more of like, I'm going to overwhelm you with shots. I know he's got a black belt, but I don't expect there to be any grappling in this one. But yeah, I would take Rothwell. I don't really like Linz's chances in this matchup. Yeah, any other thoughts on that before we move on to the fight before it?
No, let's go.
Cool. So we got the featherweights, Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker, which is a huge fight for Gavin Tucker to take. The number 9 ranked fighter when he's not even ranked. So this is just a big fight for Tucker, who I believe is coming on a 3-fight win streak. I'm looking here. 2 of them by submission. Recently, a decision in December. I don't know how this fight goes. I'm actually don't really have a pick on this one. What are your thoughts?
No, I'm surprised to see Danny Ige in this fight one. I think he was linked to someone else.
Ryan Hall.
Ryan Hall, yeah. So he had a big fight lined up and it just fell through. And he's obviously a gamer because he's taking a fight with Gavin Tucker, who's not an easy night for anyone. I just expect Dan to show his class in this one. He is towards the upper echelons of that division. I don't even think he beat Barboza, but he was he was tough with him for 3 rounds. He fell short against Qatar, but he was getting tough in that one. I expect him to win this one, get back, and he'll get another big fight after this. Gavin Tucker's a good fighter. He's put it together lately. He really put it on Billy Quarantillo last time to inflict his first UFC defeat. So a good win, and he's in a big fight in a big position. So he can turn it all around. He can be ranked in the top 10 this time next week. And Danny Ige's got to shut that down. Yeah,
we'll keep rolling through these fights because we're running up the time here. Obviously, women's strawweights. Angela Hill's back against Ashley Yoder. It's a rematch. Angela Hill took the first fight, and we'll see who takes the next one. I do like her chances in this one as well. I just think that both of them have matured as fighters, but I think Hill's probably matured more, and we'll take this one as well.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this the other week before it got moved off of one of the cards. I think due to COVID. So again, I'm picking Angela Hill. I think she beats the first time. Did you say? I expect her to beat her this time. I think Angela Hill is kind of one of them fighters who's really popular, but she's just missing them wins. She needs to start to put them together now, and Ashley Yoder is one where she can really start to build on that and start to move up the division and potentially get a strawweight title shot at the end because she is talented enough. She just needs to put it all together.
Yeah, and right before that, we have flyweights, Manel Cape versus Matheus Nicolai, who is someone I'm not really familiar with. I'm just trying to bring up the stats here. While I'm bringing them up, do you have a prediction on this fight?
I think Manel is filling in on late notice. It's his UFC debut as well, so I think it's a nice fight for Cape.
It's not his debut. He debuted against Pantoja a couple of weeks back, didn't he?
No, not Nicolai.
Okay, yeah.
Well, it's not his debut, but he's been away from the UFC. He's come back now. So Manel he looked good against Pantoja, but he he was just a bit hesitant. I think maybe the UFC nerves, jitters got to him, and he weren't throwing that punch. And I expect him to go out and do that this time. I expect him to let his hands go. I like the quick turnaround, especially after a tough loss, straight back in the mix. And I think he's going to go out and make a statement. I think he's going to get a big KO, and we're all going to be talking about him, this time next week.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about Nikolai, so I'm telling you from Cape's last performance, like you said, he wasn't putting in the output he needed to. So in this one, I expect he will just be coming straight out, full clip, trying to get the finish. Hopefully he does. Hopefully we have something cool to talk about when we recap this card. Before that, we have a fun middleweight fight between Eric Anders and Darren Stewart.
Yeah, really fun. I think talking fight of the night, this might be it. Darren Stewart, he is always in fun fights. Eric Anders is a gamer as well. He's always pouring forward, and I expect I expect these two styles to really clash quite well, and we're going to get some exciting exchanges on the feet, maybe on the floor as well. I think Darren Stewart was unlucky to lose against Kevin Holland. He gave him as one of his toughest fights, and before that he looked great against Patolo. So really good matchmaking. Good way to start this card, and I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Stewart in this one. It should be a fun fight, and I guess either guy has a chance of knocking the other one out, but I just think Stewart's got better volume and better shots, and I think he'll emerge victorious on the night. That wraps up the main card. Is there any prelims you want to grab before we wrap this one up?
Just want to, obviously, I'll be looking forward to watching Charles Jourdain. I think he's been a really fun addition to that featherweight division. A draw last time out. Before that, he drew against Andre. I mean, he lost to Andre Feely, but he was starting to look like a contender before that fight, and I'm looking forward to watching him. He's very flashy, and can't wait for that one. And then besides that, we've got Davey Grant. He's from my side of the pond, and he got a brilliant win last time out against Martin Day. Big KO in the third round, and he faces Jonathan Martinez now, who's a tough fight for anyone. He just beat Thomas Almeida, so that'll be a tough one for Davey. And besides that, not a lot on that undercard, but the main card is stacked, and it's a good one. Can't wait to watch Leon Edwards. That's the main one for me. Leon Edwards, after so long out the octagon, I can't wait to see him back in the win column, back in the title picture, and everyone talking about him rather than speaking about him. Oh, he's not fighting, he's not doing this. A big win, hopefully, big KO or submission, and back on the title charge.
Yeah, should be a fun one. That main event is really important for Edwards. He needs to get this win. Let's hope he does. We'll speak to you next week to recap all this card. We don't have any news today because we did run a bit long, but that's all right. So we'll speak to you then. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.